Welcome to the Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Josh Kimmel, Dave Campbell, and Justin Bowerly.
And welcome back to the Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Bowerly, here without my esteemed colleagues, Josh Kimmel, Dave Campbell. We miss you guys. I miss you guys. You guys are in Las Vegas doing whatever it is you do in Las Vegas the week the NFL starts. But it is not just me this week. I do have a guest, but before we get there, be sure to follow us on social media at OUSFFPOD. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all the places. Be sure to follow us there. Again, OUSFFPOD. You can also catch us at OUSFFPOD.com, where you will find all of our rankings. We'll have news, starts, sits, waiver pickups, all of that information throughout the season. So be sure to catch all of that. Today, it's the first in-season show, and of course I don't have the rest of our crew because again they all decided that they were going to take vacation this week and it was just going to be me, but hey guys, we're still here. I see you guys all out there, so we're going to talk starts and sits, quarterbacks, RBs, wide receivers, tight ends. We're going to get into some of the news of the week, but before I do all of that, let's get our guest in here. Back by popular demand, we got Topher Kurt back. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm very glad that, like SNL guests don't get this like a week after week sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I feel very honored.
You're a reoccurring guest star now. So
I am. I need in the intro video now, I need like my face in the little corner or something.
just as it's saying with Josh Kimmel, Dave Campbell, and Justin Bowerly featuring Topher Kurt.
And every once in a while.
Every once in a while. Yeah. I mentioned how both Josh and Dave are in Vegas right now, and they left me on the show. We also don't have producer Jacob. So I'm producing the show, hosting the show, and I'm in a 10-person league draft right now. So that started about 30 minutes late. It was supposed to start at 7:30. So we're doing a lot of things right now. I'm doing a lot of things. So
yes, you are.
I might push some things over to you and say, hey, just talk. And then I'll be like, okay,
you do it. Hey, I'm a teacher. I'm very used to being like, oh, okay. That child is rolling on the floor right now. All of you do this work. We're going to go talk in the hallway right now. I get it.
Well, we were already crowdsourcing my team here. You helped me pick my first pick, which was actually in the 4th round because of keepers. So this is maybe I'll just have an entire team and it'll just be our team by the end of this. Good. So let's talk about some news. Let's start off with Jamar Chase. I did not do this correctly, but Topher, you're going to just be blocked here. You are now Jamar Chase.
We look the same. I don't even see a difference.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that
we're
meme
just gonna.
It's that meme, the office meme of tell me the difference between these two pictures, and there's no.
They're the same picture.
Exactly.
They're literally the same exact picture. We're gonna actually do a little bit of live producing here. Derek, when you watch this later, just know that I'm sorry.
Also, Derek, it'll be nice to meet you someday.
Yeah. And here we go. There we go. Okay, Jamar Chase. There we go. See, live producing on the show, hosting the show, all the things. I just have to talk, right? Like no dead space, I think. So Jamar Chase, there is no deal done yet. However, he practiced today.
Well,
did you hear this?
I saw that he walked on. So I saw that he walked into practice, but I didn't see if he actually practiced or not. It was during my planning period, which is around like 11 a.m. So I didn't see everything.
That's totally fair, actually. Yeah, he showed up to practice at least. Apparently he wore stuff. Pads, I guess. This is what I heard. If you're out there and you know more information about this, let me know, because it was not very clear. But he does not have a deal.
No.
Still questionable whether or not he will play on Sunday. Joe Burrow said he's ready to go, though. So I trust what Joe Burrow says. But we hope to see Jamar Chase on the field on Sunday, but I would be planning around not having Jamar Chase starting in your lineups on Sunday.
If you have a sleeper league, then they have that new substitution option.
True.
I would definitely use that this week with Jamar Chase.
Also, if your commissioner has activated that.
Yes,
a lot of commissioners have not activated that because they think it defeats the purpose of setting your lineups.
Which I can see both sides. But Jamar Chase has also held out before, like for an entire season. So then he could get that back.
Has he?
Well, when he was in college, didn't he? He skipped his entire senior season. So then he could be drafted and just prepare for the draft.
Was that not? I thought that was
it was the
Justin
COVID
Jefferson.
No, it was Jamar Chase. I swear, because I saw somebody talk about this.
Oh, he did. Yeah. You're right.
He's stubborn AF, y'all. Like Jamar's just gonna wait until he gets what he wants.
As a Bengals fan, I hope they do give him what he wants. Just give him money. I was looking at this. I think it's the top 6 paid wide receivers in the league in money per year. And only 2 of them have actually made it to the Super Bowl. One of them has actually won a Super Bowl on a different team, and that's Tyreek Hill. And he is the 6th most paid person in the league, wide receiver in the league now.
Is that even after his raise, his bump up?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So this is like recent. So yeah, it's very interesting that he is the only one of the top paid wide receivers in the league to win a Super Bowl. Then you got like AJ Brown and Brandon Ayuk. Both have been to the Super Bowl, but they're top 5 paid wide receivers now.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase could become another one that has been to the Super Bowl, has not won it yet.
Yeah.
But at least he's been there. But guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown have never been to the Super Bowl, is one of the highest paid wide receivers.
So you're telling me that what the Packers have right now is really what you want in your wide receiver room going to the Super Bowl, because the highest paid ones just don't make it.
I don't want any part of that wide receiver. No, actually, I lied. There are a lot of those guys that I would love to have in my flex position. And in fact, I just traded for Wicks today. I also got Jamar Chase in that trade, but not Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson in that trade. So
okay, yeah. But I would say, like, I agree with you there. You don't know who's going to come out on top. In my main dynasty league, we've got way too many bench spots. So I have all 4 Packers wide receivers, and I have Jordan Love. But I drafted Jordan Love, and so it's like I have the space for it. 2 of them are going to come out and be very good fantasy assets and round up my wide receiver depth.
I think the deep benches are where you really you stash all your homer picks.
Yeah,
you're like I know this wide receiver 5 on my team is going to break out, and then I want to be on top of it. And then
somebody held on to Nico Collins for years, and then finally has that, and he has like AJ Brown and Jamar Chase. He's got like freakishly good receivers on his team, and Nico is just sitting on the bench.
All right, so let's talk about another wide receiver here. We got Hollywood Brown. He is officially out for tomorrow's game with that clavicle issue, right? He broke his collarbone.
Yes, it was separated.
Separated his collarbone. Yeah, that sounds painful for a wide receiver in general. When you have to do this a lot. Don't talk away from the mic, Justin. That's not how you run a show. So he is officially out. So please be sure to take him out of your starting lineups if he was even in your starting lineups.
He shouldn't have been in your starting lineups. Also, I have 3 dogs, so if you hear barking in the background, it's really just one of my dogs, my male corgi. His name is Frank Sinatra, and he lives by his name because he's very loud. But Hollywood is somebody that I have not been in on. He was my dud last week for the West podcast. So, for human being purposes, I feel bad for him. But otherwise, fantasy wise, I wouldn't be too worried unless if you have like Jamar Chase on your team as well, and he was going to be the guy that filled in for you. Then that's when you worry. But I think that's a very small percentage of you.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Jalen Warren. He is questionable this week. He was practicing today, full go. But I would still consider him to be questionable. He could miss time. I'm perplexed about the running back room in Pittsburgh. Is it Najee? Is it Jalen Warren? Who actually is going to get that start? Who's going to get the touches? We don't know in Arthur Smith's offense. We saw last year in Atlanta where they decided to use Bijan and Tyler Algier and just give the ball to whoever Arthur Smith felt like it. So Jalen Warren is another person I just got in a trade today in that same trade that got me Wicks and Justin Jefferson. And I just seem to not.
You just traded your whole team away and got a whole new team right before.
It was a 5 for 5. Yeah.
Dang.
But I went 0 running back. I had a lot of good wide receivers. I had 3 tight ends in a 1 tight end premium league, and I was like, you know what? I just got another I got Kittle in. I need to ship off Friermuth. So somehow Friermuth did not end up that trade package, but it's fine.
he started it. It's okay.
He started the negotiations. Yeah. I think it's Josh right there. Real Talk Wrestling. He doesn't know how to log in as himself. So Josh, thanks for showing up to the show.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, and Raphael, I see your comment. We will get to some questions here in just a little bit. Give us a
Raphael Nadal's watching.
Yes, the famous tennis star. He is wanting to know who to start and sit this week. We got one more guy here. Kyle Pitts. He injured his hamstring today, so he was limited in practice. Is Kyle Pitts ever going to be a thing?
He's like that situationship that you had in high school or college where you were like, it was that one couple that you saw fight in the hallway one week, and then the next week they were like making out at the lockers, and then the next week they were like sitting on different sides of the classroom, and then the next time they were eating lunch together, and you were like, what's happening? Kyle Pitts is the epitome of that wishy-washy high school relationship. You never know what's going to happen, unfortunately, because he has all the talent in the world.
Right.
Feel for the guy, but whew, I have not picked him for years. So
I just got sniped. I'm a little upset. I'm at the 9th position. Kittle was on the board. I thought about going a tight end here. I had 3 wide receivers. I took George Pickens instead. Kittle went literally right after me at the turn. So I ended up with Zay Flowers. I have 5 wide receivers right now. So far, draft board's looking at Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor. Those were my 3 keepers. Ayuk, Diggs, DJ Moore, George Pickens, Zay Flowers.
I got to tell you that I would have picked Diggs Kittle would have been my 5th pick out of all of those. I'm quite low in Diggs this year. I had him last year in Dynasty and hurt myself.
I think he could be elite. I think he could also fall off this year. I don't know. Yeah. I'm hoping for the upside. It's a new team. He always balls out that first year on a new team. So
yeah. I love Zay Flowers. I think you should have gone Kittle. You went with the wrong George, but that is okay.
George. I like Pickens because he is the target. Like, who else is that? Roman Wilson, like Pat Friermuth, I guess. But like George Pickens is the alpha male there, the alpha wide receiver.
But we also did see that there was a game last year where under Arthur Smith that Drake London and Desmond Ridder had the same amount of receptions in a game. And Arthur Smith said, I don't care about your fantasy teams. We're doing what's going to win us games.
That's true.
That's true. So George Pickens might be, the one receiver there that has anything, but he's a best ball play for me.
Well, good thing's a flex position, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we get into the show, Brock Bowers or Chris Godwin? I think I'm going to go Chris Godwin here because the guy at the turn doesn't need a tight end now, and I can get Bowers.
Okay.
I think with your head here. Okay, let's start the show. We got first question here, Raphael. We're gonna also answer questions. So if you guys have questions about who you should start and sit this week, be sure to drop it in the comment in the video. That way we can go ahead and answer. We'll answer these to the best of our knowledge. So we just talked about Kyle Pitts. Do I start Pitts or Gesicki at tight end? I was hoping Chase doesn't play to help Gesicki numbers. That is true. Gesicki is on the Bengals this year. He is not a Dolphin, and he's actually going to hopefully get used. As much as Burrow says Chase is going to be ready, is Chase actually going to be ready on Sunday? Is he going to get 100% of the snap count? I'm worried about that. Pitts is already questionable for this weekend, and it was limited in practice on Wednesday. Who would you go with, Gopher?
Oh, I think at the end of the day that it comes down to who's playing. I think if Chase is playing, you go Pitts. If Pitts is still on the fence until, right before game time and he still plays, I'd kind of go lean Gesicki, because if they're already making news about Pitts might not play this week, that's never a good sign in week one. So
right,
I think if Chase is playing, Pitts is playing, you go Pitts. If Pitts is last second, then you go Gesicki. I
think I would agree there. If 100% actually, if Chase is not playing, but Pitts is, I think I'd still go Pitts. Right? Is that what you said? No, if Chase is out and Pitts is playing, go Pitts. But yeah, if Chase is there, I don't think I'd go Gesicki.
The only way that I would go Gesicki. So the only way that I would go Gesicki is A, obviously Pitts is out, or B, it's a very last second call. You're listening to Jay Glazer be like, oh yeah, he might be on a snap count, So watch out for that sort of thing.
I would highly work on watch for Sunday, but week one, you always start the studs. You always start the guys who are supposed to ball out. And in this instance, it is Kyle Pitts. Yep. All signs say Kyle Pitts should be better than Mike Gesicki, and that's who you have to start. However, if Pitts is still having an injury issue on Sunday and might be limited, I would lean towards Gesicki, because Gesicki is going to be a full go, especially if Chase is not playing. Burrow is going to have to get the ball to somebody, and Gesicki is that guy. So my plan in my drafted work, I can get Brock Bowers now. So,
very well played. Good job.
So this is called chess, not checkers. Sometimes fantasy football is chess, not checkers.
It is.
So let's go ahead and start with our first position here. Let's start with the running back. Everybody starts with quarterbacks. Let's start with running backs today. We are looking at two players who you might have in your lineup. This isn't going to be the top two running backs in the league. Who would you start, CMC or Jonathan Taylor? We're picking like a matchup that you might actually really see on a lineup. Alvin Kamara against the Panthers, or Kenneth Walker III against the Broncos, both home teams. And if you had to start, if you could only start one of these guys because you have CMC, Jonathan Taylor in your other RB slot, which one are you starting on Sunday?
This one I think is a tough one. I think I'm going to lean Kenneth Walker. I think I'm going to lean Kenneth Walker because they have a new offensive coordinator there. I think also the coach speak that we talked about last week, how you can actually start to trust Seattle's coach speak, unlike under Pete Carroll. And they're talking Walker up. There's not a whole lot of hyping up of Kamara. Kamara is obviously not the player he once was, while Kenneth Walker could get you a higher ceiling. So I think week one, you want to come out. You don't want to play it as safe. You want to see what you can do in week one to wow everyone. I think Walker has the higher ceiling this week.
I do too. I think so too. Kenneth Walker shined during training camp. He shined during the preseason. Kamara had back tightness during the preseason. A lot of people didn't realize that. He didn't play in the second game of the preseason. He missed the second game. They sat him the third game. And he's 29 years old and the best player on that offense outside of Chris Olave. So I think I would be cautious.
I think you meant
Kamara.
Taysom Hill right there, not Chris Olave. Taysom Hill.
You could have got me and said I think you meant Drake London because I get Drake and Chris mixed up. I don't know if I'm the only one, but Drake London and Chris Olave both played for the Falcons and Saints. I don't know which one is which sometimes.
See, I drafted Chris Olave in a couple leagues, and I didn't draft Drake London in rookie leagues, so that's how I remember.
That's probably smart actually. I did draft Chris Olave last weekend actually. In my home league, and I think I already traded. I already traded him. So should I just talk this trade? I've mentioned this a couple times now.
Yeah. Is this the same trade that we've been talking about?
Yes,
multiple times. Oh my gosh!
Okay. So I sent Chris Godwin, Rico Dowdle, Chris Olave, Chase Brown, Anthony Richardson. I got Dak Prescott to replace AR. I got Nick Chubb and Jalen Warren to replace Chase Brown and Chris Olave. And Rico Dowdle. I got Justin Jefferson to replace Chris Olave and Datavian Wicks to replace Chris Godwin.
I think that you got the more volatile side, but a side that could really help you out. I think ultimately you won the trade with Justin Jefferson, but if Anthony Richardson is everything that everyone hypes him up to be, then you might have lost. But it's not like you can't sit there and pick a winner now. Also, Wicks. I love Wicks. Love me some Datavian Wicks.
I know. Okay, so let's get back on this. Derek, sorry, you can just cut all that part out in the talk. We didn't need to know about the trade stuff. So let's move on to the next position here because we pretty much clearly said Kenneth Walker is going to be the guy to start here. Do you want to do QB or wide receivers?
Let's go to wide receiver. Mix it up a bit. Let those QBs wait a little bit.
So, talking about Chris Godwin, great segue here. We got Chris Godwin or Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is going against the Chicago Bears on the road. Caleb Williams in that offense is first time together, knew everything there. Or Chris Godwin versus the Commanders. Again, both of these guys playing against rookie quarterback teams.
Yeah.
So you're hoping this is going to be a high scoring game, but it might not be because they're going against rookie quarterbacks and have quarterbacks that are pretty much the exact same in a way with both Will Levis and Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
This is kind of like an eerie identical matchup here. It's odd.
It is because they also are on the same team as two juggernauts. Like Ridley has Nuke and Godwin has Evans.
If Nuke plays.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I think Calvin Ridley is going to give you your higher ceiling. However, I believe that the Bears have the much better secondary. I think the Bears are a much more complete team than the Commanders. The Commanders are not going to be a defensive stalwart. I think if you want to be a little safer, you go Chris Godwin. If you feel comfortable with coming away with a Calvin Ridley, last year he started very hot. He had 8 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown. And then the following 3 weeks, he had 2 receptions for 32, 3 receptions for 40, 2 receptions for 32, and a touchdown. And he had multiple other weeks that were 35, 20, 26, 39 reception yards, while he also had 103, 122, 106, 90, 83. So are you feeling like you can safely start Calvin Ridley with his volatility, or do you feel like you can get a safer floor with Chris Godwin, which I think Buccaneers are the better team? I think Commanders are the worst defense. I go Chris Godwin for safety, but I think Calvin Ridley could obviously win you the week. He could lose you too.
It's great that you mentioned the defenses here too, because I think that does play a large impact here. We talked about the Bears, who has Jalen Johnson to really go against. The Commanders don't really have I can't think of a defensive back that is going to guard the third option on the Buccaneers. Is Chris Godwin is going to be in the slot now, so the nickel corner.
Yeah.
I can't think of the nickel corner on the Commanders that's going to lock down Chris Godwin. I think Chris also going into the slot position, even as a wide receiver too, is going to be great for him and Baker Mayfield, because that's just literal instant throws right there. Whereas Calvin Ridley's got to play the tougher defense. I mean, the Bears are tough, and I don't necessarily know that I trust Calvin Ridley or the Titans offense. Yeah, he's supposed to be the elite wide receiver, but I've been on the record for a very long time. Calvin Ridley had one good season in his career, and we've been banking ever since that on his one great season as a wide receiver 5 in the league.
Yeah.
But outside of that, his highest ceiling was wide receiver 18.
Yeah.
But we're thinking he's a top 12 wide receiver. Don't buy it. I am going Chris Godwin here no matter what.
Yeah. I think just because Ridley is so volatile, you could. I think if you have if this is a flex play, if you've got like 3 wide receiver and 1 flex play, and you feel really confident in the rest of your team, go Ridley.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel confident, go Godwin.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. We have a question here.
Okay.
We've got, hey guys, should I drop AD Mitchell for Rashid Shaheed on non-PPR? So this is an interesting one. I have a little bit of stock in AD Mitchell. Living in Indianapolis, I hear about him a lot. However,
didn't know you lived there. Nice.
I do. So Rashid, non-PPR. So we're talking about, for those of you that don't play non-PPR, you're not getting the points for the receptions. So target share is not as big of a deal here. What you're looking for are yards and touchdowns here. And Rashid Shaheed is probably one of the best deep threats in the NFL. AD Mitchell is going to be going into his first NFL game, where he also has to compete against Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce, who Alec Pierce is supposed to be the deep threat right now, the deep threat 50-50 ball guy. I would lean Rashid Shaheed here, and dropping AD Mitchell if that is the option. Again, Shaheed is going to be that big play guy down the field. He's going to get those touchdowns. And I think I would go him. If it was PPR, I'd go AD Mitchell.
I think Rashid Shaheed is your poor man's Calvin Ridley. He gives you that same boom or bust mentality. It's think about MVS on the Packers a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Have 4 or 5 electric games, and that's about it. Also, I'm looking at Ourlads right now for ourlads.com. They give the best up-to-date depth charts, and AD Mitchell is the second team. They have that Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, and Josh Downs are all ahead. Yes, Josh Downs is injured right now, so he could play, but right now he's not even a starter. Rashid Shaheed is that wide receiver 2 there, and really the third option behind Kamara and Olave. So I would go Rashid Shaheed right now.
Yeah. So Fantasy Pros has Rashid Shaheed ranked as wide receiver 54 in standard format, and of course, AD Mitchell is 63. So you're getting about a 9 wide receiver difference there. Yeah, I would definitely lean towards Shaheed. He's also got the slightly easier matchup against Carolina, whereas AD Mitchell's got to go up against the Texans, who have a strong secondary. So I would lean towards Shaheed. He's got Derek Carr, who's a veteran quarterback. AD Mitchell has a quarterback who's played 4 games.
Yeah. That's true.
And that's the Colts fan.
Yep. Yep. That's very true. Thank you for the question, dude.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you for the question. Keep them firing. So let's go to tight end. We'll save quarterbacks for the last.
Okay.
So tight ends, Pat Friermuth against the Falcons in Atlanta, or George Kittle against the Jets at home. And
might
that
have
is
worn a
a
specific
Monday night football game. Oh, is this an Iowa versus Iowa matchup here? No, Friermuth is not Iowa.
No, I saw this. I saw this in the doc, and I wore this at school anyway. We do college football Wednesdays at school, so so we do not college football, but college apparel Wednesday, and so I wore my born and raised Iowa Hawkeye shirt for the show because of George Kittle.
There you go.
I'm gonna lead this. Pat Friermuth. He has had his moments, but he's
Penn State.
He went to Penn State. So Pat Friermuth, I don't think there's even any question in this. If you have George Kittle and Pat Friermuth, you're starting Kittle every single week. I think that Pat Friermuth is strongly overrated right now. He finished he doesn't do it for me. He's got talent. I love his talent. I don't think he produces the way. He's a poor man's Kyle Pitts. I mean,
yeah.
That's where we're going with him. And George Kittle is a stalwart and an Iowa Hawkeye tight end. And we've talked about TEU being in Iowa City right there. So George Kittle, easy for me.
Yeah, we're talking about the guy who is the only tight end in the league last year that had 1,000 yards receiving. The only tight end, and he actually did it on 65 receptions.
Mm-hmm.
Not even Ingram with his 149 targets got 1,000 yards receiving last year.
You also have to consider that he's also playing with Ayuk and Debo, and he's still getting that. Even though most other players are not going to get that when they are behind two stalwart wide receivers, and George Kittle inserts himself into the conversation. He forces his way to be targeted.
Yeah, even the games, he randomly will have a 1-point game.
Yeah.
Or a 4-point game.
Most
man,
tight ends
he
will.
scores. Yeah, most tight ends will. You are right there. But he is the alpha here. I would go George Kittle. This was my question because this is an actual real life situation for me in the same league that I made the 5-person trade. I have both Kittle and Friermuth.
So let me ask you this: who are you starting over Kittle? If any tight ends, who are you starting?
Any tight end in the league?
Yeah, any tight end in the league. Who are you starting over Kittle?
I would start Travis Kelce.
Yep.
Because he's the first target there. Mm-hmm. I would be starting the players that are the first targets on their team. Travis Kelce,
Mark
Andrews, Evan Ingram.
You would start Evan Ingram over
I would
George
start
Kittle.
Evan Ingram over George Kittle. He's the number one target in Jacksonville. He's proven that he is the number one target in Jacksonville. He's, in my opinion, another Andrews Kelce type. He's not Andrews or Kelce, but he is on that level.
He was drafted. He was drafted to be that. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
And then
what about
outside of that, Laporta, McBride. I'm a little worried about McBride specifically because of Marvin Harrison. Greg Dortch is supposed to be a thing. I'm almost on that train of from Mean Girls, where it's stop trying to make Greg Dortch a thing. It's never going to happen.
Yes.
Yes. I've been on that boat, but the last couple drafts I've taken Dortch just in case. Just in case he does do something, I've taken him.
I got to tell you, Mean Girls is my favorite movie. I have a sticker on my work laptop that says "Get in, losers, we're going teaching." So my kids all see that as well. I would say that I am starting Laporta, starting Kelce, and I'm starting Andrews over Kittle. Kittle's my tight end full. I don't think Ingram is. I think with Brian Thomas in town, I think Brian Thomas is going to prove to be a steal. Not the same way that Justin Jefferson was, but that same kind of like LSU receiver kind of creeping to the middle of the back half of the first round of the draft, come out with, busting out being the number one target on that team. So, but how many tight ends just off the cuff would you start over Friermuth?
A lot.
Yeah,
at least
exactly.
10. At least
10.
I
At
have
least,
Pat Friermuth as my tight end 14 on the season, so it's
a lot. I
So-
think I've got him like 18 or 19. Like, I also, part of it's just because Arthur Smith is there, and I think that tanks every Steeler by at least 3 slots on my team, because you don't know what's gonna happen.
really don't.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, if you are watching and you guys have any questions about starts or sits for the week, we will be here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern to answer all of your questions. We'll have our own prompts for each position. Next up is quarterback, actually. We've already talked about running back and wide receiver. So if you missed that and you want to catch it, be sure to rewind and go back and check those. Also, we are going to clip each one of these positional battles and put them out individually on YouTube. So if you want to catch shorter versions of these and not the entire show, be sure to check that out as well.
But I mean, us working together, you're going to want to watch the entire show.
I mean, yeah, you're here for the whole thing, of course.
Exactly.
You got to hear about how my draft is going, about random trades that I make in random leagues.
It's not the random leagues, it's one league. The same trade is being it is. It is the one trade that's been brought up 17 and a half times. I love it.
I have a question for you. Before we get to the quarterbacks here.
Yeah.
How do you feel about guys that are just dumb in your league and you don't want to take advantage of them, but if you don't, other people will?
Okay. So, I have a really good answer for this. So, he's a guy in my main dynasty league. He's gotten a lot better, but got a buddy, Luke. He still makes some. I'm definitely sending this to the chat and being like, hey, check out, 38 minutes a little before that.
Maybe I'll have Derek clip this and we'll just put this out.
Yes,
we'll see.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then just be like, Topher just throws his teammate in front of a bus like Lindsay Lohan did to Regina George. But my Luke sometimes just make some awful trade offers. Like, he tried to get like a top 20 wide receiver for me for like a backup quarterback, a 3rd round dynasty pick, and Trey Sermon on the Philadelphia Eagles. And I was like, I'm a no nonsense kind of guy. So I'm like, why the hell? What are you doing? Why would you send this? And then my buddy Josh and my buddy Dan both take heavy advantage of him. And like, this guy had like Justin Jefferson and Jonathan Taylor and Josh Allen all on his team at one point. Now it's like starting quarterbacks are like Bryce Young and Geno Smith. Like, he gets washed hardcore. So I say, if it helps your team, I mean, do it. I'm not doing it enough, and I need to. Luke, I'm coming after you. But
sometimes a guy's got to learn.
Yeah,
he's got to learn.
So you're talking about this for a reason. You've got somebody in mind too.
Yeah. So my home league that just happened, drafted, I got TJ Hawkinson, and I backed that up with drafting Friermuth. Okay. Short-term solution.
Yeah.
Short-term fix for a long-term solution. I'll have TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this guy at our draft gets super drunk. Like, super drunk. He's asking his buddy about all the picks and like, oh no, he took my pick. Like, who do I pick now? Buddy leaves to go to work like halfway through the draft. So this guy goes up, and now he's like, all right, I got 2 quarterbacks. I got 4 running backs. I have 3 wide receivers. I have 2 tight ends. Who do I just keep playing wide receiver. Never does what I tell him he should do. Fair. Okay. Don't do what everybody else tells you to do. So he has Mark Andrews and George Kittle.
Is this
He
like a
no,
like a tight
one
end,
tight end,
like
one tight end, half point
okay,
PPR. That's
okay.
it. So I'm like, okay. He's drunk later that night. He puts Kittle on the block. Like, okay, that's okay. You have 2 tight ends. Then he drops them a minute later. Instant $100 fab. Like all of my fab on Kittle. And I talked to I talked to Josh and Dave, and I'm like, hey, what would you guys do as commissioner? He's clearly new. They're like, it's a mistake. Put him back on the roster. So I put him back on the roster, and I offer him a trade. I offer him Pat Friermuth and Greg Dortch for George Kittle. I think maybe fab too. I'm like, that's a fair trade. He needs a wide receiver. I'll give him
Oh,
a
that's a
flex.
fleecing. That's not a fair trade. That's
I
a
mean,
fleecing.
it is a
I'm very
fleecing.
proud of you.
No,
I will
but
tell
that's not what got picked. So accept it. He said, I don't know about Dortch. He's kind of lame in this situation. I'm like, okay. So I offered him Pat Friermuth, Rashid Shaheed, and $5 fab.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll send you a counter. He sends a counter. George Kittle, $100 fab for Rashid Shaheed.
Oh, so I've got to build.
I sat there for 2 hours contemplating, do I absolutely take advantage of this guy? And I
was
did.
raised Catholic, and I would have done some Hail Marys. I'm not very religious anymore. No offense to people that are, but I might have whipped out a rosary and done some Hail Marys right there, done some Our Fathers,
I was just like,
gone bead by bead.
I literally, I think I brought it back to the chat, and I was like, guys, like, what do I do? I told him to drop the fab. I was like, don't even include the fab. This is stupid.
Yeah.
I was like, what do I do? And I think it was Dave that told me, if you don't take that, somebody else will, and it'll hurt you.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, he's got to learn. He's got to learn.
My
So
buddies and
took it.
I, first year of that Dynasty League I'm talking about, had a guy that was in there that was doing trades that was just like that. And he was fleecing himself. So, and I kept calling him out on it. I was like, dude, if you don't know what you're doing, ask us for help.
Yeah.
Like, you are shooting yourself in the foot here, but you have 4 bullet wounds in your left foot now, not just one. Like, you've done this multiple times. So we actually created a trade committee for him. So myself, the commissioner, and him, anytime he wanted to offer a trade, because people weren't offering him trades at first, he was just sending out erroneous things, just being like, oh yeah, let's try this, and every time losing. So he would, anytime somebody sent him a trade, he would send us the trade in a chat, and then anytime that he wanted to send a trade, we would have to walk him through it. And sometimes that's what you have to do, because like, I've been playing fantasy for 22, 23 years now. For somebody that's coming in that is like, oh, this sounds fun, you kind of have to, when you're in a league of experienced competitive people, and somebody's competitive but doesn't have that experience, they want to get in the trade market, you kind of have to also be a somewhat decent human being and fleece them once and then help them. So you fleece, now you go, hey, I fleeced you.
Let me help you
Let's
out.
make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
So then you get the reward of the fleece, and you get the reward of being a good person at the same time.
Andy, if you're out there, you got fleeced, dude. I'm so sorry. But like, if I didn't do it, somebody else was going to. So
I feel like I need to send my buddy Luke like $5 fab or something just for the heck of it after fleecing him out here too. Sorry,
yeah,
Luke.
I'm gonna have Derek cut this, and we're gonna clip this separately. So
yeah.
let's get to the big one here. We got quarterbacks. We got Joe Burrow against the Patriots, and Matt Stafford in Detroit to play the Lions. This one's interesting. Joe Burrow, of course, may not have Jamar Chase. He's got T. Higgins, Andre Iosivas, Jermaine Burton, Mike Gesicki. Zach Moss is new.
Yeah.
Their offensive coordinator is now the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Joe Burrow had a really messed up throwing wrist. All of these things. Matt Stafford was hurt. Has to go home against the Detroit Lions.
Mm-hmm.
This is an interesting matchup, and this could be on your fantasy lineup right now. You might have Joe Burrow with a Matt Stafford safety net on your bench. Topher, who are you going with here?
I mean, you said it earlier. You got to play the guys that you drafted to lead your team. And I think Joe Burrow can do that without Chase, whether he's there or not. I also think the Patriots have some good secondary pieces that could be a problem. I also think that Matt Stafford going back to Detroit, he's going to want to light it up and just play, for that whole stadium, not just for the Rams fans, play for the
Yeah.
Lions fans as well. And he has his receiving options there. I think at the end of the day, you go Burrow because you drafted Burrow to be a top 7 quarterback. You drafted Matthew Stafford at the end of your draft. But I would consider Stafford if Chase doesn't play. I would think about it, but if Chase plays, it's not a question for me. What about you?
I think we own Joe Burrow either way. Again, you start your studs week 1.
Yep.
Joe Burrow is your stud. I think Matt Stafford could have a little bit. He'll get his home welcoming, and then the game will start. And I fully expect Detroit to give him the applause that he deserves.
Oh yeah.
As he comes out. But after that, it's game time. It's just like when Peyton Manning came home to play Indianapolis. In Indianapolis, I was there. The crowd was cheering. They gave him his video. It was emotional.
Oh yeah.
Game time started, and I don't think Peyton Manning knew that Lucas Oil could get so loud when he had the ball. Because when he had the ball, it was an orchestra. He led the entire stadium, not just the 10 other people on the field.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be similar for Matt Stafford. I think there's going to be a lot of high emotions in this game. Mistakes will be made. Puka is coming back from an injury. Cooper Kupp is old and coming back from a serious, not a serious injury, but an injury that kept him out for a while last year. And then you got Matt Stafford has been limited in practices this week. And then you got Kyron Williams returning punts. You got Blake Corum in there. I don't know who he's handing the ball off to anymore. I'm going Joe Burrow. T. Higgins is still a top viable candidate for a wide receiver 1 position on a lot of teams in the NFL. Like we mentioned, Mike Gesicki's there. He can dump it off to him. He's got Zach Moss, who is a serviceable running back. Look what he did without Jonathan Taylor last year, getting 30 points a game. Yeah. And he's got wide receiver options. I'm going to go Burrow, assuming that his wrist is 100% ready to go. And he was a full participant in practice this week so far.
Yes, that's very fair. So,
I have 28 seconds. Oh, God. Panic pick. Oh, okay, fine. So, yeah. That does it for our quarterbacks. We have one more comment in the chat. Let's see.
There we go.
So y'all think JMO will have a breakout year?
I don't think
Jameson Williams, for all of you that are wondering. I almost thought
Lions.
Yeah. He says he could be the best. He wants to be the best. He wants to have the most receiving yards and most touchdowns in the league.
I mean, I want to have that too, but there's no way my ass is doing that. I don't think that JMO is even he's maybe the 4th receiving option on that team.
Jameson Williams is considered wide receiver 2, which makes him the 3rd option on that team.
I would say that the
running behind Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So,
So you've got
I agree with
Amon
you.
Ra, you've got Laporta, you've got whoever's in the back,
running back.
Yep, and then you have JMO.
When you're behind the running back, as a person, as a wide receiver 2 on your team, we got more issues than just injuries at this point or suspensions.
I would also say that it would be tough on this team, though, to be the wide receiver 2 and to not be behind the running backs, because that tandem is lethal. So I think most every wide receiver 2 in the league, you're looking at maybe T. Higgins, Devonta Smith, Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, maybe, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple, Jordan Addison, maybe, of wide receiver 2s that could be the third option on that team. But it's also the offense. If JMO, was the second, if he is the wide receiver 2 on a bunch of other teams, so let's put him on the Chargers. Like, if he's the wide receiver 2 on the Chargers, he has a much better chance to break out than he does here in Detroit.
Yeah. He finished as wide receiver 82 on the year. He only played it in 12 games. In those 12 games between week 6 and week 17, he was wide receiver 61.
Yeah,
That's hard. That's hard. I don't believe
Yeah.
in him. I mean, I guess that's what a breakout year is, when you start this low and you somehow do something out of it. But I don't see this happening for Jameson Williams. I think he's just going to be a serviceable wide receiver 2 in the league.
He's going to be a guy that you can throw on your flex during bye weeks or be a filler. I'm not ever going to willingly start JMO.
He's definitely a best ball candidate, but
yes,
that's about it.
Yep, he's definitely best ball, because
when we talk,
you can't trust him in weekly. You can't just trust him week to week.
Right. Yeah. And that's what makes a best ball candidate, especially for the flex positions, is that a guy that's going to get you 10 plus points one game, but then 2 or 3 points for like 3 weeks, and then 20 points, and then a couple points here.
Calvin Ridley that we talked about earlier. Are you going to draft Calvin Ridley where he's going, or are you going to take somebody right around that range? I'm trying to shoot from the hip, like Deebo Samuel.
Deebo.
Yeah, easily.
I don't even care. Easily. He's like the 4th option on that team, like Deebo.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another receiver that behind the running back. Okay, yeah. Well, CMC is a beast. He's different. But still, he's gonna produce. JMO won't. Sorry, Sleepy Twig, if you believed in JMO, if you're crying into your JMO jersey right now, I'm really sorry about that. Because I did believe in
tonight.
Yeah, I did believe in him right out the gate when he was drafted. I loved the idea of JMO. I think a lot of people love the idea of JMO. The idea is different, Yeah, I like the idea of me with a 6-pack.
Right? Did he win the Heisman?
Devonta Smith was. But I love the idea of myself with, bulging biceps and a 6-pack and a bank account that doesn't cry every month. But that's not reality. So, yeah. Justin's like, I don't know how to transition from here. Here you go.
Well, so when Jameson Williams tore his ACL in the national championship game, I was like, well, that's done. Like, you can recover. A lot of people do, but that's tough. And then you get it hurts your draft stock. It hurts a lot of things, and I just don't think he came back from it. Then he was suspended for 4 games or 6 games, however long, for gambling.
Yeah, whatever.
It's Sleepy Twig still believes. So
you know what? Sleepy
Twig, I respect it. I respect it. Just don't be like one of those guys that still believes Kyle Pitts could be tight end 1 in the league, because he can't be. I'm sorry.
No,
I'll say it. He's not going to be tight end 1.
No.
So
no, he won't. Well, Sleepy Twig, I hope that you sleep well at night with that. I really do. I hope that we're wrong on that. But not entirely, because I don't have JMO on any of my teams. So I can't fully endorse me saying that I hope he has that bounce back for selfish reasons.
Yeah. for very selfish. Although if he does have that bounce back, you can probably pick him on waivers, in any league.
Yeah. That's very true.
He's rostered 62% of leagues. So in 40% of your leagues, you can pick them up on waivers.
Yeah, exactly.
this
A lot of
weekend.
those home leagues, you're going to be able to pick them up and then trade them for Rashid Shaheed and, George Kittle and 100 fab and Rolls
That was
Royce.
all of his fab. All of his fab.
I know.
$100. I have $200 in fab. I'm going to get all the waivers this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, run with that.
So guys, we will be live again on Friday at noon Eastern to talk studs and duds of week 1. We're going to go through every NFL matchup minus the Thursday night football game, which is tomorrow night. But we'll talk about all the studs and duds from each game, each line matchup, just similar to what we did with all of the divisional recaps. I think both Derek and Sean are behind the scenes people. Our social media and our video guy might be here on Friday to talk studs and duds. But guys, Topher, where can they find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter, X, whatever that thing is, at TopherK44. Again, TOPHERK44. Yeah, that's where I do my thing and all that fun stuff. I have a lot of fun on here. So I was trying to say it quick, so then the intro, I heard the outro.
No, so when I do the outro music, it's in StreamYard, but when it's the background music, it like cuts people out. So Josh does it on his board, and it's a lot better. And I don't have one of those boards, so it's the one thing Josh gets to do each week. So we do the rest of the show.
Go, Josh.
Josh, we're very proud of you. If you're still listening to this, I doubt you're still listening to us. You're in Vegas. So guys, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the show if you love it. Share it with a friend. We want to help everybody out there. Thanks again for watching, listening. If you're on a podcast, thanks for tuning in each week. Again, follow Topher on social media. You can follow me on social media at Justin Bowerly. You can follow the podcast at OUSFFPOD everywhere. And you can go to our website, OUSFFPOD.com. I almost said .com. But yeah, studs and duds on Friday. We'll be back on Tuesday at noon for a waiver wire show. I think Josh will be back from Vegas then. So you finally get to see Josh. You'll get to show up for week 2 of the NFL season. But guys, until next week, have a good one and go in your league.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. Follow on X and Instagram at OUSFFPOD. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.